Hi guys, how are you? Thank you so much everybody for coming to this channel. I am Megan, the Fibromyalgia Warrior, and it is Monday, September the 14th, sometime after 3, sorry, I don't have my phone with me at the moment, here in Colchester, England, and anybody who tells me global warming is not real is a muppet, a moron, a goofball, an idiot. And the reason I say that is because today it is currently 28 degrees Celsius. Now, I'm not quite sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but that's hot. Like, I'm in my tank top and I'm wearing a pair of cycling shorts. Now, I have to say, when I woke up this morning, just after 7, it was 10 degrees. And so when I got dressed first thing, I was wearing my tank top with a pair of jeans and a little cropped cardigan. Needless to say, I did end up having to change this afternoon because it got so nice and warm. Well, for those of you who are new to this channel, welcome. Thank you for coming and joining and watching my video. If you are not new to this channel, thank you for coming back. I hope you'll watch my video all the way to the end. I hope it's helpful. I hope it's encouraging. It'd be great if you guys would go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and it'd be really great if you guys would subscribe as well. You know, it's always nice to increase the family circle, if you will. So, basically, in case you couldn't guess or you didn't know, I have fibromyalgia, which is a deep tissue condition, and what that means is basically generalized pain in the soft tissues. If you take it from, it's either from the Greek or the Latin. And I was diagnosed with this in December of 2015, but my symptoms actually started September of 2014, a few months after I had a spinal disc injury, where the disc essentially, they don't really know why it suddenly happened, but I just happened to be taking some laundry out of the dryer, and when I went to try to stand up, I couldn't because the disc between the two lower vertebrae in my back just kind of went floosh. Not all the way out. You know, luckily it did not cause any sort of paralysis, but it did cause a lot of pain and complications, and etc., etc. So even though they've told me it has retracted back a bit, it will probably never go back fully. So, that being said, I still deal with lower back pain, which is chronic now, as well as my fibromyalgia. And it seems as though the one can trigger the other, and the other can do the same thing backwards. I also have something called Raynaud's phenomenon, which is where, for whatever reason, the blood vessels, the brain tells the blood vessels to either circulate less blood through, or put more blood through. So what that means is my toes and my fingertips can be extremely cold. They can even go white, even if it's not that cold out. So like I said, today it's 28 degrees Celsius. All my toes are kind of white and feel cold, but the rest of me is comfortably warm. There you go. And it is triggered, they believe mine is triggered by probably the fibromyalgia. And it's kind of fun. It all goes together. So like any sort of stress, which some of us know, some of us don't, causes the cortisol levels to rise, causes the adrenals to work the adrenal glands to work overtime. So if you've got high levels of cortisol, and also your adrenals are working overtime, you can also end up with chronic cortisol levels as well as adrenal stress, of which I've suffered from both. And those things also play a role in your metabolism, in your digestive abilities, your hormone levels. They can also, it seems, everything is interconnected, okay, which I have come to discover myself through my own research, as well as some other really fantastic YouTubers that I watch. And unfortunately, if you only look to solve one of the problems, you're not going to really solve it because everything is interlinked. So if you have, for example, if you have insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, it's going to affect your insulin levels, obviously. Any excess sugar and so forth at some point it's going to start going to your liver because it can no longer be converted into your body. I believe that's correct. And so that is what's going to force your liver to make high levels of triglycerides, which is not good. That's a bad thing, by the way. It could force your HDL cholesterol, which is what we consider the good cholesterol, to be low. And it could force the bad cholesterol to be higher. So, but the key thing to look at out of all that is your triglyceride levels. So if those are going high and you do not have fatty liver because of alcoholism or alcohol abuse to some other lesser extent, you could have non-alcohol fatty liver disease, which I was actually on my way to developing back in, I would have said probably back around Christmas time last year. That's where my blood work was sitting. Now, that's all been reversed. And even though they had to put me on statins just to keep my cholesterol in check, I know, I'm confident that the bigger part was that, you know, since I decided to completely go on it's ended up that I'm now carnivore, but because I went on a complete elimination diet starting back at the end of May, which has brought me to carnivore 2 months ago, I've gotten all of the inflammatory IBS triggering foods. So for those of you wondering, it is a bit of a long process. Some things you'll figure out straight away. Yeah, you can't have, like, you either have an actual allergy to it, or you already know that you have an intolerance or some kind of a sensitivity. And I already knew a lot of that because I was told I had irritable bowel syndrome back in 2007. So it's just one of those, oh, it'll make me feel bloated or I might get gassy, but that's all right. I'd rather have the, you know, pumpkin spice latte. Bring it on, as it were. Coming from a very long period of, you know, as long as it's low fat, that's okay. It doesn't matter if it's high carbs or even high sugar, because, you know, you'll burn it off. Never connecting the fact that it all eventually does get converted into fat and stored there in your body. So I'm 5'5", I'm 48. I'm just sharing this information for anybody who's wondering. I'm currently 131 pounds. As of May the 29th of this year, I was weighing in at about 174. Our scale was a kind of bit iffy, so more likely it was 175, and I was just trying to, you know, do that thing that we women do, which is like, well, if I lean more to my right side, I won't weigh as much. So I think I was probably closer to 175 pounds, which for my age and my height was way too much, okay, for me. I have osteoarthritis, and on top of the fibromyalgia and all the other conditions, the excess weight was just making everything feel worse. And my IBS was bad. I was severely bloated. I constantly looked 6 months pregnant, which, you know, if it was 20 years ago when I was actually pregnant with my older son, then that would have been not a problem. But my kids my one son will be 20 next month and my other 17. So I'm done. We're finished. We love our kids. We're not having more. So I don't want to look 6 months pregnant simply because of the food I'm eating causing me to bloat so painfully. And made a decision, especially with lockdown. Now, I get it. Everybody was just trying to find comfort, and it was like, screw it, we're at home. Who cares? You know, with my what they call chronic musculoskeletal pain, which is how they explain the ongoing lower back pain, on top of the other stuff, and the fact that I live with anxiety and depression. All of that stuff and I still can't. I can't do any sort of heavy lifting or bending, so I can't go and buy a set of weights and start working out for toning up. I can't go running And to be fair, as far as running is concerned, even if I was able to, I wouldn't, because I hate it. I hate running. I wouldn't do it. So I couldn't do traditional exercise. So here I was, knowing I should probably lose a bit of weight, but not being able to go to a gym. Of course, one, because of lockdown, two, because what can I do? I can't. You know, if I need to go any sort of a distance, I go out in my electric wheelchair. So what was I left with? And at the time, I was in so much pain. There was so much inflammation in my body that I couldn't even lay on my back, even with my knees folded, you know, like that. I couldn't even lay on my back with my knees folded for more than a few minutes. So it wasn't like I could do any sort of yoga or whatever. And so my husband and I, through his sister and a book she referred us to, because she went through a paleo approach. She wanted to prevent herself from developing Hashimoto's and needing medication. Oh yeah, that's right. I also have hypothyroidism. So just adding to the fun, right? And he and I both decided that, yeah, okay, lockdown is easing up. This is ridiculous. We've both put on weight. We need to get it off. Neither one of us was feeling good. We were both feeling crappy and like garbage. Sleep was bad, everything. So we started this paleo approach together for the first 2 weeks. And we eliminated the 4 main things that are triggers for people. You know, soy, dairy, sugar, and gluten. And I started to feel a bit better. But I realized that for me wasn't enough. And although I started going a bit more keto with eliminating some vegetables and eating some more healthier fats, you know, trying to eat eggs, they'd always given me problems. But I found if I was eating more of the yolk every now and then, I had to get used to it. And when I first started to eat bacon, oh my goodness, it was amazing. You know, to suddenly go, wait a second, this is healthy. This is actually going to be good for me. And I felt good for it. But in spite of that, and in spite of the fact that I was now, you know, let's say by July, I had discovered that I had to remove all nuts, all seeds, all grains, all cereals, any sort of starch or carb. Full stop. I couldn't even do little bits. So 0 carbs. And that included all the vegetables and fruits and everything else. So I did all that. And I did start to feel a lot better. But I would say at the very beginning, when I first tried some liver, and I'll be honest, the first time I cooked it, I just sort of sauteed it. I didn't know what I was doing. It was horrible. I couldn't stomach it. That was that. I left it because I know that eating organ meat, you know, is supposed to be good for you as far as your vitamins and minerals. And I didn't want to have to supplement any of that. Why would I if I can get it naturally? Couldn't find any other organs in the local grocery store. And unfortunately, the one butcher's that was open is not wheelchair accessible. So I was having chicken livers and found a couple of good recipes, and for a while it was okay. I was eating them probably 2 or 3 times a week. But I was finding that at the time the taste was too sweet. I couldn't stand the taste. Oh, also, I have to say I fully eliminated dairy except for butter. And even with that, I do sometimes have some shredded cheese, but it's lactose free because I'm lactose intolerant. But I don't have any other sorts of cheese, and I don't have it all the time. I just wanted to put that out there. So no nut milks, no dairy of any sort. So having to learn to drink my coffee black, maybe with a bit of butter, actually, which I find it helps get the bitterness out. But anyways, I was finding that as I was slowly becoming more and more carnivore, and yes, my appetite changed, my taste buds have changed, and that's all fantastic, and I feel much better for it. But through this whole process, the one thing that I have actually found the most difficult coming from decades of either starving and purging or calorie restricting and purging, not so much binging, but definitely of the whole feeling guilty. Oh, well, I had 3 slices of pizza. I will go to the gym tomorrow. I mean, not these days, but back then. And I had disordered eating since I was probably 12. You know, when the hormones kicked in and started to develop, and I was one of the first ones in my class, and so I was self-conscious and all that great stuff that, you know, goes on. And in spite of, other than when I was pregnant with my kids, and when I did eat properly, as soon as both my kids were born, each time I was in a panic. I wanted the weight gone instantly, and I got depressed, and I got so full of anxiety that even if I'd had a healthier relationship with food, I would never have lost the weight because the cortisol was hanging on to all the fat deposits in my body, which I didn't know at the time, but now I do. And I really wanted to make this video because there are a lot of YouTubers out there who are absolutely lovely and brilliant, but 2 that I really want to thank at the moment are SteakandButterGal and Yogi Carnivore, which is Sarah Kleiner. And the reason I want to thank them is because they have both recently put up videos within the last couple of days about what it's like coming from a disordered eating background and coming into either a keto or carnivore or meat-heavy carnivore way of living. And the reason I want to thank them so much is because something that a lot of people don't realize is that you don't have to be 16 to have an eating disorder. In fact, you can look perfectly normal. You could even look good and still have a disordered relationship with eating and with your food. And so for me, I have read all about the benefits of intermittent fasting. But for me, what's working for me right now is I just eat when I'm hungry. And then when I feel full, like I can't possibly take another bite, then I stop. And to be honest, that has been the greatest advice I've ever been given. Now, I'm not going to lie and say it was super easy, because coming off of, as I say, decades of disordered eating and a bad relationship with food in general, and constantly thinking, do I look okay in this? Does my butt look huge? Do I look fat? Like, I wouldn't even ask my husband or my kids their opinion. Now, today, if I was putting on a decent outfit, if I was going anywhere, and I'd say, hey, do you like this? I actually would mean, do you like this outfit? Because I'm not worried. No, I don't look fat. I know I don't. I'm at a healthy weight now. And I'm comfortable and I'm happy with it. I'm not worried about it. The biggest victory for me, to be honest, guys, is that I no longer obsessively weigh myself. I used to have to weigh myself every single morning, first thing. And then I might step on the scale again 2 hours later. And if it read the same, then that was my weight. But if it went up a little, then I went with the weight that was lower, right? I stick to measuring myself with a tape measure, like a dress tape measure. You know, one of those fabric or plastic bendy ones, not one of the metal ones you use if you're measuring walls for shelves or whatever. Those hurt, by the way. And I don't even do that every day. Maybe once a week, you know. So those to me are the things I rejoice in. I don't know, you may or may not hear this sort of nice calming spa music in the background. I was just finished I think it was 15 minutes, 20 minutes of just doing some core exercises. My lower back still bothers me, still twinges. Not as bad as it used to, but for anybody who is living with chronic pain, especially in the back, hey, you know that it never completely goes away. And one of the things I was advised by my rheumatologist was to strengthen my core. And so I got myself a yoga mat off of Amazon, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 months ago, and I can actually lay on my back with my knees up and a pillow under my head and just do these core exercises. Just 15, 20 minutes. I try to do it every day, but usually it becomes every other day because, the body needs time to heal. And the one thing I've learned is I can't push myself, because then I end up straining something, and trust me, that's bad, especially with fibromyalgia. So 15 or 20 minutes every other day, and it helps improve my core so that my back pain isn't as bad as it used to be. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm grateful today. I just want to say how glad I am for discovering this way of eating. And yes, you know what? If I said, oh yeah, but I don't care about the 40 pounds I lost, that was nothing. No, that's a lie. I'm glad. I'm grateful that it's lost. And along with it came loads of inflammation. But I wasn't, in the very beginning, when I first was on keto, I did have a macro tracker. So I was tracking my macros, my fats, my proteins, whatever. Yeah. And I did that for a couple of weeks. But then what I noticed was that I was obsessively tracking every single morsel of food that went into my mouth. And I realized I don't want to do that. I don't. I have no intention of doing that, because that's what I used to do. And I don't want to open the door to having disordered eating again. But when I discovered the YouTube space that was out there for 0 carb, and I just got rid of all of the carbs, period, other than quality animal meats and products, I didn't have to. I didn't have to worry about counting carbs to be 20 or less, because I discovered quickly that, unfortunately, my body does not respond well to any vegetable or fruit. And some worse than others, but to none of them. So I had to make the decision that they were gone, done. I'll still make it for the family. I still make salads for them, and I'm glad they like eating them. They don't have any issues with them. But I've learned that it's okay not to. And something that Carnivore Yogi was mentioning in her podcast she did today with Ms. Roberts was that, what about family gatherings? Well, there's no gatherings at the moment. And of course, as of today, you can't meet up in groups of more than 6 out in public. But if you have a meal for the family, and what if they're asking you, well, why would you just eat meat or some bacon and eggs? Like, why don't you eat what we eat? And it was comforting to hear that they had those questions themselves, and that their response was simply to keep steady, and her response was about keeping steady and eat what you know helps you feel better. And that's good for me, because people are like, why are you just eating hamburger meat? You can't live on hamburger meat and bacon. And I don't argue, I don't yell back. I just sort of know in my head, but I can. And I don't get bored, because on rare occasions, maybe for the holidays or for a birthday, there could be steaks involved for one of the meals. But I love 15% fat ground beef. So, I'll throw in some bacon. Maybe I'll do bacon and eggs, or bacon and beef with some eggs, or, all sorts of varieties. Like I said, I keep my cheese, I grate it up just a little, and it's lactose free. Other than that, and I've checked, some grass-fed organic butter, and I'll just put a tiny sliver of it in my coffee. Other than that, that's it. And right now, I'm good with that. For some reason, I can no longer stand the taste of chicken. I don't know what it is. The chickens we get are organic or are raised following the RSPCA welfare guidelines. So, they're free to roam and all that good stuff. But for whatever reason, I can't. Doesn't matter how you cook it, what it tastes like, what's on it, can't eat it. So, beef it is. I've never really liked pork other than bacon. And lamb is like, Not a huge fan. So this is what I like, and that's the whole point, is find what you like, and it's affordable, and it tastes good, and I feel better when I eat it, so, which is all great. But I suppose, I know I'm rambling, guys, sorry. I guess really I want to make this video as a response to, like I said, to the videos I've just recently watched by SteakandButterGal, as well as Carnivore Yogi, real name Sarah Kleiner, and just want to thank them for talking about disordered eating, and that just because you may not be restricting yourself, or just because you may not be binging, or purging, I should say, doesn't mean that those fears and that mentality can't creep up in your head, and that it is something that those of us who ever had a full-blown diagnosed eating disorder, which I did, I was bulimic, it's not something that you just get over and it's done and you don't think about it. It is day by day. It's something that you have to go through in your head and work through yourself daily. It's a one day at a time kind of recovery. I imagine similar to other types of food addictions or addictions in general. And that on top of, or in addition to, all these other chronic things I have, I just thought there's a good chance that there are other women and men out there who may have fibromyalgia, other chronic pain, gut issues, bowel issues, as well as food issues. And just wanted to share that, eating this way isn't, in and of itself, is not what fixes things. But at least for me, I have to agree that it helps with my mental clarity, so I can actually stop and think through why I'm worried about these things, or why was I so worried about eating this will make me look fat. What if it does? What does it matter at the end of the day, right? And it's not about, oh, you have to go and diet. No, that's not what it is. This is about not only trying to develop a healthy relationship with real food, so quality animal products and quality sources of healthy fat. It's also about learning how to understand why the things that you did previously, why you did them. And that's important, because the truth of the matter is that it can easily crop up in a moment of stress, as well as you may be eating, ketovore, meat, heavy ketovore, or carnivore, to whatever level of carnivore you may be doing. But as soon as you're hit with some stress, it could very easily lead to suddenly binging on something, or feeling like you have to purge something, even if you've never had those issues in the last months, weeks, years, and I think it's an important thing for people to talk about, because it's not the food itself that fixes the relationship with food, but how we feel, and how we feel about ourselves as we reach a healthy weight, as we reach just better health in general, like especially for someone like me who had loads of inflammation and so forth, to go, okay, this is key. So if I'm healthy, if I was 10 pounds heavier, I'd still be considered at a healthy weight, right? And that would be okay. That would be good. And I could carry on. Now I'm just eating when I'm hungry, and maybe that's why the weight came off a little bit more. I don't know. It'll eventually slow down and level out to wherever my body decides it wants to be. And wherever that might be, I'm gonna be good with, because that's wherever I'm meant to be. But to reach that point after years of disordered eating is a huge victory. And for me, at least, I can't do any sort of eat whatever you like in moderation. Can't do it. Because if that was the case, then I would be able to eat all the food I wanted all those years, and then not feel riddled with guilt to the point where I was making myself throw up, or at different points taking laxatives, or whatever, or restricting calories. So this is helping me to not feel the rushes and the crashes of eating, of binging on high carby, sugary, crappy treats, like, 2 donuts and half a case of Diet Cola, and then deciding I just won't eat for the next 2 days, right? It's about eating real food so I can feel actual health throughout my body. So, thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. It is a shorter one this time, which I had said I would try to make last time I did this. And thank you for sticking around. Again, if you're new, thank you for visiting. Please be great if you go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you're not new, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. That would be so great to have as many people joining this group as possible. There can never be too many subscribers to each other's channels, And if you haven't yet, please check out Yogi Carnivore. Her real name is Sarah Kleiner, and SteakandButterGal. And I apologize, SteakandButterGal. I cannot recall off the top of my head what your name is. But check her out. She's amazing. Okay, these guys are great. They always put up really good content. You should, just check them out. And that would be, I think that would be really great if you did that. Anyways, guys, that's it for me this afternoon. I think I'm going to go, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just go sit in my other room. I think my Kindle's calling me right now. But thank you so much for watching to the end. Thank you so much for all your kind comments, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.